This is At the Extremes.
Beloved, welcome back to At the Extremes, the podcast where we discuss the extremes in our society and how we got here. We're your hosts, as always. I'm Greg.
And I'm Serge.
Sergio.
In the house.
We just finished up a thrilling 7-game series of foosball. How are we feeling?
I don't know. I'm still feeling pretty adrenaline-filled and angry at how terribly I played.
You won the last two, so.
But which is huge. I mean, I will say that's a big step for me. But I don't like to get crushed, and I don't like to have really stupid errors when I score on myself. Yeah. I mean, when I was a high schooler, I loved scoring on myself, but.
So Sergio, you mentioned that you had a story you wanted to tell that came as you were driving, making your way up here today.
So we had in previous podcasts talked about bladders and being able to hold it. And so on the way driving up here, so to give the audience, I guess, a little bit of background information, I take ADHD medicine. And so I'd taken my medicine a little later. And one of the side effects of taking ADHD medicine is that you end up you get really thirsty. Okay. So you're I don't know if this is an appropriate term but you have cotton mouth. Okay. And you just get really, really thirsty. And so I pounded probably like 4 or 5 soda waters on the way up here. And so, on the way up here, I remember Greg telling us a story about how he has this weak baby bladder.
I have a very weak baby bladder.
And it created a whole system to piss in his car while he's driving.
There's part of it right there.
No, the funnel.
The funnel's there.
Yeah. And so, and I've always prided myself on being somebody that's a camel that can hold it. I'll say, I need a pee, and then I can hold it for another 3 or 4 hours. But I was driving up, and I needed to go to the bathroom really, really bad. I needed to pee, and I was thinking to myself, I've never had this sense of urgency. So let me ask you a question right now. I know people in my life that when they need to take a shit, I need to take a shit right this second. Yeah. Once the urge happens, you need to go right then and there. Who are you on this spectrum? Are you one that has it bubble and just like, all right, I know this is my routine, or this needs to happen right this second?
I am the inverse of my pee. I can hold a poo for a bit. Okay. But I do know people who are, I can't poo anywhere other than my house kind of person, and I am not.
That's me.
I'm not that person.
What?
If I have to go, I have to go.
Really?
Yep.
But when you get the urge, is it because I know people that when they feel it, it's just right then and there. I need to go find a toilet right this second.
No, I can, if I know it's coming. I think if you're that kind of person, you've known it's coming for a bit. Like there's just no way that creeps up on you that fast.
I don't know.
Unless you have a loose asshole.
I mean, I don't know. I think that's
a real loose butthole, bro.
That's a really interesting conversation. Maybe we need to start taking some polls and just seeing, where you're at on the spectrum.
At the extreme pole, poo.
Yeah, where are you at on it? But I definitely know people that when it's time, it's time, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
No pun intended.
So I had to pee so bad, and my thought was there's a lot of running thoughts in my head. So I was pinching myself, and I don't know if that really helps.
Oh yeah, the pinch and squeeze.
The pinch and squeeze to just see if that makes a difference. Yeah. So my initial thought was I'll make it to Greg's house and I'll be good. And then I looked on the maps, and there was an accident, of course, and it was such a stupid fender bender where there was nothing going on, but there was rubbernecking going on, people were just watching and slowing it down.
As they do.
And as I got to that point, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to make it to his house. If I do, I'm either going to open up my door and just piss all over his street, or I'm going to be running out and just pissing all over his lawn. And
that's fair.
But it's not, because really appreciate our friendship, and I would feel really bad about myself. Or the other thought was going on through my head is that I don't want to have to borrow like pants and underwear from you. That would be also humiliating.
I would ask the question, like, what's going on? What
Yeah.
happened?
Yeah. What happened? And so the thought came to my head. I have to make it. I have to make it to Wegmans, and thankfully you make it. You live relatively close to Wegmans.
Mm-hmm.
So I get out of the car and I park, and I start to fast walk a little bit, and I realize that that's not a good idea because the weight of my stomach pushing on my bladder is pushing on my bladder. And if I do that, and I'm wearing gray joggers right now, that everybody will see that I had pissed myself.
Yeah.
And so I start kind of fast walking, and I kind of pinch from the outside. And thankfully, it's Movember is over, so I don't have a mustache. Walking into Wegmans,
Holding your dick,
pinching my crotch while I'm running into a store.
Yeah. You're just like a normal weirdo now.
I'm just like a guy, wearing an Arsenal hoodie, going into
bright
into a
yellow.
store.
No one's going to notice.
Nobody's going to notice, man. I'm totally. And so I make it in to Wegmans. I'm breathing. I'm really working. I'm not a really big meditator, but I'm working on my breathing and just mind over matter.
Yes.
I'm
bigger than my bladder. I am bigger than my bladder.
I get to the bathroom, and I am starting to take myself out just because I'm going to piss on the floor rather than piss my pants.
Emergency. This is a pee emergency.
To the highest.
Wow.
And the thoughts that were going in my head, hopefully there's no people in the bathroom at the time, and hopefully there's no kids in the bathroom, because I would feel like such an arsehole.
Dick out as I walk into the bathroom.
I didn't have it out, but I was hands in the pants pinching.
Oh, boy.
As hard as I could. Nobody's in there.
Little Tommy.
Out, and I made it. But it was really anxiety producing. And, I thought of you talking about, you've created this contraption, you've created all these things to help you with that.
Yeah.
And it's really helped me to be more empathetic, to realize that when people are at this kind of critical mass, that you're going to do basically anything.
And everything you can.
Absolutely possible. And so I've used to tease lots of people about this.
Oh, this is so good.
And this is, my experience with it. And I will never tease anybody about needing to use a bathroom when it's that urgent.
Man.
Yeah.
Welcome to the ranks.
So I need to either have like
Cheers
a huge Gatorade bottle or something in the car just in case that ever happens again. It's never happened in 42 years, but...
Now, let me tell you something. I found myself the other day, I was on the phone with a buddy of mine. We hadn't called up in some time, and he's my friend who lives out on the West Coast, out in Portland. And we're chatting, and I'm like, oh my God, I got pissed so bad. I'm sitting in the car in my driveway hanging out on the phone because my wife had some friends over. I just didn't want to create like a lot of crossover talk when I'm on the phone.
Because you want to get straight to where you need to go.
Well, yeah, and like when I'm on the phone, I'm not really good about being like, oh yeah, give me a second so I can say hello to these people and I'll come back to the conversation. Like I am very much like I have to focus on one conversation at a time.
Hyper focused.
Yes, always incredibly like a tiger in the savannah. I'm always hyper focused. So I'm in the car and I had a bunch of cans sitting around and I just like snapped, like, you push the lid in a little bit. 2 cans later, completely full, done.
Really? Why didn't you just piss on the side of your house?
Because it was broad daylight, and I just didn't want to be
that guy, that neighbor.
No, I have had to do that in the middle of the night, which is great. I mean, no one can see it. Yeah, no one can see that. But
just have to watch out for the foxes and the wolves that run by.
Well, the coyotes. We've had a coyote problem.
Oh, the coyotes.
The old coyotes. No, we do have some coyotes in the neighborhood, yeah. Pretty wild. They're scary as fuck. Like the sounds they make are intense.
Well, I had an experience where we were out in Colorado visiting some friends, and we took and they were out in the suburbs, but we had small dogs at the time.
Okay.
They're not alive anymore. May they rest in peace. But we went out, and it was the creepiest thing ever. We went out in kind of this little nature trail, and you could just see the dude had a headlamp on. You could see all their eyes reflecting, and you could see like 15 coyotes just
Scary.
looking out. And I was just like, man, I hope they don't pluck one of our dogs right now.
Yep.
So yeah,
I don't like to hike at night for that exact reason.
or bears.
Yeah, it's really hard to like find them in broad daylight, much less at night. You know what I mean? They're really they are apex predators. So
Yeah.
So Sergio, man, we take a little time because of our Thanksgiving episode, and we were getting ourselves kind of together for all that. And we wanted to just do like a weekly catch up. And so when we come back, I want to talk to you about one of the stories that I've been keeping up with over the last week and a half. So when we come back, we'll give a chat about the Trump appointments that are being made moving forward. So we'll be right back. We are back. So Sergio, I don't know about you. I think yesterday Trump made another appointment for the FBI director, but I've been really paying attention to who and when and where he's making these picks because if you remember Project 2025 and that whole thing, how he tried to distance himself from it, well, a lot of those people are being picked from the people who wrote Project 2025.
Of course they are.
So one in particular really raised my hackles, though. Not the Fox News host who's being appointed as defense secretary, or the television doctor, Dr. Oz, running the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid, or the Trump loyalist Pam Bondi, who just got recently slated for attorney general. And it is a shame we're not going to see Matt Gaetz be the attorney general, because if there's one thing I wanted to see, was it like a Cialis Red Bull powered dude just like ripping through the justice system. So fucking nuts.
Just taking ED pills and snorting it and just injecting energy drinks into his veins.
Yeah. I mean, like he is. I mean, did you see like what happened now that he's quit Congress and all? So he's now running, like, the website Cameo. So
Yes.
it's like you can pay to get people to say happy birthday to you or whatever. That's his job now. Such
Heck
a fucking loser. Fucking hate that guy. I
hate all of them.
Along with Tucker Carlson, if there was a dark alleyway, he would be one of the members I would. So we're not going to talk about Tulsi, who is very much a cult member, Gabbard, who is now going to be running the director of national intelligence, or RFK, whose brainworm is eating him from inside. Like, this guy is going to be fucking taking over. Oh, God. They're going to be doing so much bad things.
Oh, my God. And it just, even how weird he is as a person, but just the dead bear thing that he about dropping it off in Central Park, and then the whale's head, and how he created a whole measles and mumps epidemic in American Samoa.
Yep.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Yeah, no, I can't wait for him to be in charge of everyone's
Vaccines,
health,
yeah,
and food. So I'm most interested, though, in a guy, former TV host, former Baptist preacher, former governor, and presidential candidate, Michael Bartholomew Huckabee.
And you forgot saxophone player, extraordinaire.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. He's not that good at the sax.
Not as good as Bill Clinton.
Clinton was a much better sax man. Mike Huckabee is, for anyone who's ever seen him on TV or heard him talk, won't be surprised to learn that he is an incredibly right-wing Christian. And I have to say this because once I found this out, I realized, oh my God, like all this like childhood trauma started to come back around like religion and stuff. So he is friends with a guy who wrote the Left Behind series. And if you're not familiar with...
Was that Kirk Cameron?
No, but he was in them.
Oh, okay.
Kirk Cameron was in them. So
He's starting it though, right?
Yeah. So they've done like a couple of different iterations of Left Behind series, I believe. I think one was a TV series and then there was a movie. And I'm going to show you a clip here in a second of that. But the one guy that he's like linked in with is Tim Leahy. And he was the guy who wrote all the books, and he's the author of the Left Behind series. Now, when I watched the movie growing up, I realized that it wasn't as scary as my imagination had made it out to be. And I'm going to show you this real quick clip.
He's right. I love you. I missed you, buddy.
Like all these people like just disappear because they've been raptured out of nowhere. And if you're not familiar with the rapture,
They're the chosen ones.
yeah, they're the people who are being called back up to heaven by God. And so like I realized at a very early age, like one of the reasons why I'm so anxious is because I was living my life thinking that my grandparents or myself or my family members could all just disappear in the middle of the night or like while I'm on the road. Anyway, Mike's been he's been appointed as the ambassador to Israel. And that should scare everybody.
That's a little interesting. Tell us more.
Well, I'll tell you why. Here's a clip of what Mike Huckabee has to say about the Middle East.
And I'm speaking only as a person. I think Israel would only be acting on the property it already owns. I think Israel has title deed to Judea and Samaria. There are certain words I refuse to use. There is no such thing as a West Bank. It's Judea and Samaria. There's no such thing as a settlement. They're communities, they're neighborhoods, they're cities. There's no such thing as an occupation. That they get out of their minds that people are living in lean-tos and tents, sleeping in cars, circled around a tree.
There's a sign behind that says, "Build Israel great again."
Yep. In beautiful cities and communities. Can't wait to get back. I'm going to take an extra hat. I'm going to get it to President-elect Trump. Build Israel great again. Who knows?
It's really scary. Mike Huckabee has repeatedly stated over and over and over again that there is no such thing as a Palestinian, and that should scare a lot of people because evangelicals are absolutely thrilled by this appointment because it means that Israel will cease to exist, and I will explain why. So we're not going to get into a lot of like biblical philosophy here, obviously, but like the specifics are kind of vague for me. But what I do understand is that evangelicals believe, like Mike Huckabee, that in order for God to return to earth,
The rapture.
Israel needs to be restored to its original boundaries and its peoples. And and evangelical minds, like Mike, that means an Israel without Palestinians. So, and it also means an Israel without Israelis.
Well, they want Israel to be destroyed because when the temple that's out there gets destroyed, that's going to be is going to be the sign that the rapture is happening.
Yep, exactly. And so, like, there's a couple of like things that happen like within like the prophecy. Like, there's a red heifer, and red heifers are being bred in Texas by evangelical pastors, and they're being sent over every year for sacrificial purposes to like bring about the end of the world in their mind. And that is fucking terrifying. Mike is a part of a nonprofit called Christians United for Israel. And I'm going to read off a quote here. CUFI, Christians United for Israel, is a far-right Christian Zionist organization that claims 8 million members in America and enjoys support from many major Republican figures like Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House. Although CUFI's support for Israel, and more specifically far-right Israeli politicians and settlers, is expressed as a love for Jews, the organization is also driven by the evangelical interpretation of the Bible's end-time prophecy. More from the Huffington Post, if you're okay with me finishing this off here real quick. The group's founder believes that the return of Jews to Israel and the expulsion of Palestinians from their lands are necessary steps to bring forth the end of the world, Jesus' return to earth, and the eventual rapture of Christians to heaven. There are different formulations about what that means, like for what it means for Israelis who live there. But the prevailing theory is that they would have to either mass convert to Christianity to go to heaven, or they're going to die and go to hell. One of the two. There are people in my life that I know who are firm believers in this philosophy. While they promote themselves as someone who is pro-Israel, that America should do everything it can to protect Israel, when pushed come to shove around the question of what happens during the eventual rapture that you're like preaching about, that means like when you push them, they go, well, they're either going to have to convert or they're going to die. And that is what they want, because they want God to come back more than they want anything. I used to date a girl. She ended up going to Liberty University, one of the largest Christian colleges.
It's Jerry Falwell's university, right?
Yep. So she ended up going to that, one of, if not the largest Christian college of the country. And one time we got into like a philosophical conversation around religion, and she was talking about how she can't wait for the second coming of Christ. It was at that point I realized we're no longer compatible, other than the fact that she cheated on me. But that combined with
I hate you, Heather.
Yeah, seriously, what a bitch.
It's again, different strokes for different folks. And I think one of the things that just really stuck out to me isn't a kufi what Arab Americans wear or Arabs wear on their heads.
I believe so, yeah.
It's a really funny acronym then.
It's right on the fucking nose, dude.
Or is that just, like a big FU to Muslims?
I think it's a middle finger. It's middle finger politics, dude. Yeah, they fucking hate Palestinians.
It's I don't know. I know I say, ooh. Within the last 3 or 4 years, I have never been in tune to the racism, the sectarian issues that are going on through the world, and just realize how big of an issue religion has caused for so many countries, and has been one of the main reasons for so many deaths and displacements. And it's really, really intense.
It's disgusting. As somebody who is a humanist, who believes that good people can do good things and bad people do bad things.
You're a humanist when you're talking about philosophical things like this, but when you're destroying me in foosball, you're not a humanist at all. You hope that I choke on the foosball and die.
When you're in my basement, all rules are out the window. I am there to punish you as hard as I can.
You're hoping that the rapture happens and it just takes me away.
Oh, no. I don't want the rapture to ever happen while I've got you bent over the table. So Trump, though, has been able to, and this is why he's succeeded so well with the evangelical crowd, because he has plugged into this. I'm going to show you a real quick clip from his last presidential campaign, but while he was in office and he moved the, the embassy to Jerusalem.
And we moved the capital of Israel to Jerusalem. That's for the evangelicals. It's amazing with that. The evangelicals are more excited about that than Jewish people.
So he's able to touch on something that he clearly understands, which is that evangelical
He doesn't understand anything.
No, I think I think you're right. So I don't think he understands anything, but I do think he understands through advisement that if he wants to keep the evangelical vote, and if he wants to continue to gain off of them, then he's got to give them what they want. He's very transactional that way, right? I think everyone can understand that that's who Trump is. But I think what he lacks in understanding is that they want to bring about the end of the world. If Palestinians are wiped off the map in Israel, you're talking about World War III. There's just no way. Syria, Iran, Iraq,
Saudi Arabia,
that whole region will not allow for that to happen. And now you're talking about putting a guy in as the ambassador to Israel who doesn't believe that these people should exist. And that's really scary. From Huffington Post, Huckabee's staunch support for Israel and his denial of Palestinians' existence has gone hand in hand with abiding Islamophobia. In 2011, arguing that Christians should not rent their spaces in their churches to Muslims, Huckabee said this: Muslim groups believe that Jesus Christ and all the people that follow him are a bunch of infidels who should be essentially obliterated. In 2013, he called Islam a religion that promotes the most murderous mayhem on the planet in their so-called holiest of days. He also said that Muslims go to the mosque and they will have their day of prayer. And when they come out, they're like uncorked animals. They're throwing rocks and burning cars.
This is just like the Crusades all over again.
Yep. It's a holy war. It's a holy war, and Mike Huckabee is going to be put in charge of the most unstable region in the entire planet. So the appointment has me worried for a region and the people in that region that is constantly at odds with one another. And in this White House, they have now a far-right element that is going to only embolden the far-right elements in Israel, right? Remember when I was talking to you about Ziklag a couple weeks ago or a month ago or whatever? Christian nationalism is now an essential tenet within the United States government. We have it at the Supreme Court. We have it in the Senate. Josh Hawley has said on the floor of Congress, I am a Christian nationalist. Marjorie Taylor Greene has said on the Congress floor, I am a Christian nationalist. We now have a Christian nationalist as the ambassador to Israel.
But the thing that's so interesting about it, though, with all the stuff that you're talking about, is that I just wonder how it's going to go with the infighting that goes on in politics, because there's a lot of Christians that don't believe Catholics are real Christians. And we have 4 Supreme Court justices that are pretty right-wing Catholics.
Yes.
And so
hyper-conservative Catholics.
Hyper-conservative.
Yeah.
But I mean, super right-wing, right? You have to have as many kids as possible. You're following these really, really staunch conservative Catholic doctrines and values.
Yep.
And I know that was one of the big things. So growing up in Seattle, we, in the neighborhood I grew up with, the Catholics didn't wear uniforms because it was a strong KKK stronghold. Oh,
wow.
And so
I didn't think about that.
Back in the day, if you wore a uniform, you would get beat up because you were Catholic. And so you were, paying homage to the Pope and the Virgin Mary and the saints and stuff like that, which you grew up Christian. That's not a thing, right?
No, not at all. Why go to the mother of the lifeguard when you can just go right to the lifeguard yourself?
Exactly.
That was our joke. Like, why would I go to the mom of the lifeguard if I could just go to him and say, like, can you save me? Mm-hmm. Why would I do that? I wasn't taught to hate Catholics, but like that was like our mentality was like, these stupid Catholics don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Now you add like white supremacy and hatred of others to that. All of a sudden, you've got the Klan. Yeah, yeah, it's pretty bad. It's pretty scary stuff.
So, anyways, that was just kind of my little side tangent.
No, I appreciate that. I think it's incredibly important to understand. We've been talking about this in so many different ways, but like the idea that there has to be an out group. Doesn't matter. Like Catholics, like conservative Catholics who voted for. Or Catholic nationalists who voted for Trump, who think that they're going to be on the inside. Eventually, when the Protestants have their way and they get what they want because they have so much fucking money to do so, all of a sudden.
But aren't Catholics the largest Christian sect in the whole United States?
I don't know about that.
Oh, I think without a doubt.
Yeah, I mean, probably. But even if they are, like, goodbye. Like, what? There's only been 2 Catholic presidents,
Joe Biden and John F. Kennedy.
Yep.
Yeah.
And when JFK was put into office, I think there was like a gigantic to-do about like, no, we don't want a Catholic in the White House.
Yeah, because we don't want the Pope to tell him what to do.
Exactly. So, it's all about creating the out group. And, the appointment of Mike Huckabee in the Middle East is going to create... For those of you who voted for Trump because you think that he was going to protect Israel, you are now seeing a guy who is going to do his very best to eliminate the state of Israel through a campaign, a holy campaign. Some might call it a holy war between Israel, the United States, and the Middle East. And that's where I think I'm going to leave it for my observations this week. It really how short-sighted the people who voted for this really are, and like not looking down the field.
But do you think it's short-sightedness, or do you think it's like, oh yeah, I like that, like the rapture is going to come, we're all going to be saved, and all these heathens are going to hell?
Yeah, so I think that there is let's call it 10%, right? Like 10% of Christians went all in on Trump because of this evangelical dumb shit. Those people are completely excited. But like the people who voted for him because they think like eggs are going to get cheaper or whatever, all of a sudden you're now dealing with a third world war because you put in a psychopath who is so flexible and doesn't have any grounding principles around like what he's willing to do, that he's willing to sell off to the highest bidder an ambassadorship to the most volatile region in the country, to a guy who does not believe that brown people who live there deserve to be alive. Like, we're talking about something that, like, I don't know. I continue to try to not draw parallels between now and World War II and like Hitler and the Nazis and, the Italians and Mussolini during that period of time, or like early days of Russia and World War One. Like, I'm trying to not like draw those comparisons or those parallels, but I cannot stop myself from thinking like, you have now set into motion a chain of events that you cannot stop. You cannot stop it.
I agree with the people that he has in place when it comes to cabinet members and things like that. But I also think that Trump is just so into himself that he doesn't really give a shit about if you're a Muslim or if you're Jewish or if you're Christian. Oh, you like me? I'm going to be the best. You're going to like me.
But didn't he say
I'll do the things.
Didn't
he doesn't believe in anything. He just believes in himself and money.
I agree with 100% with you. I think that the problem is that because he doesn't believe in the evangelical way of thinking, he has taken no time to understand it. And if he did for like just 2 seconds and gone, these people think if I put this guy, like, this is going to end the...
Doesn't
like,
give a shit.
He doesn't care, obviously, because he doesn't believe in it, right? Like, he does not believe...
Give me more money.
Right. He's going to make a lot of deals out of it.
I'm going to get more money from the Saudi Arabian prince.
Exactly. I mean, I think I sent you a message earlier about Jared Kushner's dad being appointed the ambassador to France, right? Like, he's all about making deals for himself. But I think like the one thing that even if you don't believe, like, the unfortunate part is in America, even if you don't believe in the Christian God, if you go to Oklahoma and you have a child, you have to deal with people in trying to indoctrinate your children. If you go to Texas, you have to deal with people trying to indoctrinate your children. And now you have somebody who firmly believes that there is a guy in the sky who's going to rain down fire on people unless God is put first in the United States.
And there's going to be a holy war between angels and
devils and
devils.
demons. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you're now talking about that. Even if you and I do not believe in that personally.
I don't believe in it personally.
Tough shit, Cookie. You know what I mean? Like, you now have to deal with this. And how is that representative of a majority of the country? Because a majority of people in this country aren't Christian.
Don't believe in that.
Aren't Christian.
Yeah.
And yet we've got this crazy shit that's about to literally implode a region. When I saw Mike Huckabee,
he's doing accordion hands right now, guys.
I saw Mike Huckabee and I said, Mike, you've got to get yourself into Israel and kill these Browns.
Basically.
I mean, yeah. Mm. When you're talking about Palestinians aren't real people, you're now talking about giving way to state-sponsored genocide.
Absolutely. And dehumanization of people and their religion. And I think that, again, our country is founded on freedom of religion, right? You know, we had all of these
freedom from religion.
Yeah, to be able to go and practice the kind of religion that you want. And now
not at all.
We're now a Christian state that is going to be forced to have 10 commandments. We're going to have prayers in schools, and the small majority wants that to happen.
A small, super wealthy majority that's going to continue to get tax breaks because they've now positioned themselves so close to power that the Christian persecution narrative bullshit that happens in this country. And I know I've gone on a bit here, but it is really concerning for me because it is a self-fulfilling prophecy now. We are now in self-fulfilling prophecy land with those who would love to see the end of the world.
Yeah. And are all about it. They're all about...
They want it.
They want it to happen.
Yeah, they're horny for it. They're horny. They've been edging. The Christian persecution narrative has been so since I guess the Nixon era, or like the silent majority, and you've got like the Falwell Nation, that like the Christian coalition that formed around the Reagan period. And they've been talking about how they are such a minority in this country for such a long time. They've got the Supreme Court.
Well, they are a minority.
Yeah, but they've got ruling power in every fucking major office there is in the country. The Supreme Court, the Congress, the Senate.
But why is that?
Because they're fucking wealthy.
Well, and the Electoral College and this whole fear of brown people and, other religions. Yep. And that's what they want. I mean, previously it was the Irish, it was the Italians, it was the Catholics.
There's always an out group.
I mean, Democrats were what? The party of the Southern Christians. Yep. And they're not anymore. And yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, all right, Sergio, I think let's go ahead and take a break real quick. Oh my gosh. Wow. What a break. What a break. When we break hard. And that's what I like about us. Sergio, I want to know, what have you been tracking this week?
So, Greg, I really appreciate this opportunity to be able to research a story and talk about the things that, that are going on, or things that catch your eye. And since, this is called At the Extremes, we're going to take a minute to talk about, and when I was researching, it was 11/29, which was Black Friday.
Ooh, Black Friday. Buddy.
Black Friday. Which is
the blackest day of the year.
I'm not saying that.
The blackest day they've ever had. They've never had a blacker day. Mm-hmm. It's so black. Anyway,
so I'm not one to write scripts like you are. You're a maniac, because you'll text me things at 11:30, 12 o'clock at night, and I go to bed at like 9:15. So I had gone out to the Eastern Shore, and we had been talking, we'd been texting, and you're just like, "Hey, what are you gonna do? What's your thought?" And I was like, "Oh shit, I totally forgot. So I need to get through it." So
yeah.
I was looking through NPR as any lib would, and I saw this whole article about Black Friday, and I was like, wow, why don't we talk a little bit about the origins of Black Friday?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Jesus, like that, and there's a lot there, because it is really one of those things where I don't know that a lot of people actually think about where all of it comes from. You know what I mean? Like I know that, like, because I am kind of a lunatic, I have looked into it a little bit in the past, but like I don't know nearly as much as you've looked into it. So
yeah, and I mean, I'm sure you will as soon as after we're done talking about it, you're going to start looking at the origins. But so I saw this article on NPR that just talked about it's a Black Friday and it's misleading deals. So we're going to kind of touch on 4 little subject points that I wrote down. We're going to be breaking down this article I read, and I'm not a big reader. Greg and I were playing foosball, and we talked about one of his buddies that had dyslexia. So I'm not a big reader, because reading is just not my favorite thing to do. And unless I'm really into it,
what do you read that you're really into, by the way? Are you like,
nothing?
Do you have like nothing at all? Like no books, nothing like that? No books that have ever like made you so enraptured that you're like, oh, I need to keep on going?
I mean,
what was the last book you read, I guess, maybe?
Well, actually, I read the book by Maggie Haberman about Donald Trump.
Okay.
So that was probably 2 years ago.
Yeah.
That came out. But before that, one of the series I got into was Harry Potter.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I read all the Harry Potter books, and it was super entertaining. I guess if the listeners want to get into my brain, my biggest issue with reading, and I don't know how you are when it comes to reading, but I have to really get into a book within the first like 5 or 10 pages.
Sure.
If not, I will kind of dangle along and read a paragraph or a page or two and just, I need to read a little bit more.
Yeah.
And then I just don't. And then it just kind of fades out slowly.
Yeah, so I like what is it, nonfiction. I don't like fiction books. I'm a big I think that real life is so fascinating.
Yeah.
I don't like, granted, one of my all-time favorite book series is The Lord of the Rings, and I think that is one of those things that connects me to my childhood. It connects me to my youth. But when I'm reading, like I like to read books about hiking and outdoor adventure. I actually just started reading a book. Forgive me for forgetting the name, but it was I think it's like I forget. I think it was a 747 or 737 plane that crashed over the Andes.
Oh yeah, Alive.
And they made a movie about it. Yeah.
I watched it.
And yeah, so like I've
The
watched
Uruguayan or Paraguayan
soccer
rugby team.
Was it soccer or rugby?
Rugby, I thought.
Was it rugby? Okay. And I just started reading the book, and it was
what's it about?
Literally, I've been like a page in.
But you know what the whole thing is about, right?
Yeah, they get stranded up there, like on a mountain,
and they have to eat the people.
Yeah, it's what is it? The Donner Party. It's a Donner Party story. But like that's the kind of stuff I'm like. It's cannibalism. I'm into cannibalism.
Reading about cannibalism.
I'm into cannibalism. No, but I think that real life has so many like fascinating things happening that I don't know that it takes me a long time to get into a book, but staying committed to reading it, I get bored really, really easy because I get distracted by like, I got to look at this thing for the podcast, or like, I got to go to the gym, so I'll come back to this in like 5 minutes, and I never do.
But I feel like you're hardcore that once you commit to reading a book that you're going to see it all the way through.
If I tell you that I'm going to do something, I go like I'm in. Like there's no half measure. Anyway.
But do you lie to yourself then when you read the book? You're like, I'll start this, and then you don't finish it off?
No.
Okay.
If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it.
Man, I wish I had that kind of commitment.
It's only because if once you maybe this is just me, but like once I tell you I'm going to do something, my like the expectation meter is here now, and I have to do it. And if I don't do it, I'm going to die.
Really?
My whole family will die. Everything's going to go wrong.
You're going to get raptured.
Yeah, I will get raptured immediately because I'm a psychopath. So there's that.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, I mean, I think that's really interesting. And so, you know what? That's the reason why this podcast continues to go forward, because you have that kind of commitment.
Yeah, I'm a lunatic.
But yeah, so I was reading this article about Black Friday and just thinking about how insane Black Friday is as a whole.
Yeah.
And so basically we're going to be breaking this article down. We're going to talk about the origins of Black Friday. We're going to talk about the cultural significance of Black Friday. And then we're going to just have our own closing thoughts about how Black Friday either has impacted us or our thoughts about Black Friday or our families. So, so basically the article breaks down with this thought of, not thought, but title of, are you really getting a great deal when it comes to Black Friday?
And I've always wondered that, by the way. I've always wondered, like, anyway, you'll be telling us a story. Sorry.
No, I think this is what I want. I want the banter so that we can talk between it. But you're absolutely right. We have created, well, so hold on. Maybe this will fuck up the flow, but what have been your thoughts? Like when you think about Black Friday, what do you think about?
You're told this is a way to get a cheaper deal on something. You're told that this is like, my own personal thoughts on it are, and I don't want to jump the gun here, but it is the most insane thing that we do to operate an economy, where you go, there's a day of the year where we quote unquote mark down shit for you to buy as much as you can, and you'll revitalize the economy somehow, or you'll find a better deal somehow. And you see, like, again, because I have a brain that operates in a historical lens, I think about like feast days in Rome
Yeah.
a lot when you hear this kind of thing, where it's like, oh, you know, the powers that be are allowing for you to kill each other in some cases, or stomp all over each other's heads on the way into a store
There's a lot of foreshadowing going on right here.
Oh, okay. I didn't mean to get out too far ahead, but like the idea that like you are willing to kill somebody to get a TV because you're getting a better
You're getting $300 off.
deal on a TV, and like you're willing to like kill your fellow man for it, or
So-
stand out in line for hours for it.
It's 6-7 hours in line.
I had a family member, several family members actually,
Okay, great. I love this.
who would leave Thanksgiving early to go sit in line. Like would leave early enough in the dinner where they could get like the first like 5 seats, because again, like the idea that like consumerism is the only thing that matters. And you know, I was able to get like the fire truck at a $10 discount or some like ridiculous thing. You know what I mean? Sorry, I don't mean to talk too much, but
No, I love it because this is the kind of banter that I wanted. And I have in my notes, Greg and Sergio banter. But it's this whole topic from WBUR, which talks about whether you're getting the deal that you're really thinking about.
oh yeah.
And so kind of what you were just alluding to is that what we're led to believe that Black Friday is going to be one of the only times of the year that you get the deal that you're looking for.
Right.
And one of the facts that I thought was super interesting that I was reading this article, and we'll put in the show notes, but on this Thursday, Americans are going to spend an excess of $20 billion dollars.
You're talking about $1 billion being spent.
$20 billion, which I put on the notes that it's a higher GDP than a lot of countries.
What are the countries?
Zimbabwe, Haiti, Armenia, Palestine. So we're going to spend more money on Thursday than what a country produces with their gross.
So you're telling me a country that voted for a president because they said the economy was bad is spending $20 billion in a downturn recession when eggs were too expensive not just a week ago.
Yeah.
And that's what they voted for. And now we're spending $20 billion. So the economy's doing fucking terrible.
Yeah.
Clearly. Sorry.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right.
We're outspending Zimbabwe in one day.
And one day we're spending that much money
Zimbabwe.
on shit.
Jesus Christ.
So, and one of the biggest things that they said is that a lot of retailers, the 24 biggest retailers, so think of Target, Walmart, Amazon, whoever, they're going to tell you you're going to make you're going to get this deal that's going to be 45%, 50% off, which isn't really, really true. And one of the biggest things is that they talk about is that unless you're really, really following what prices are,
Price trends throughout the year, right?
throughout the year,
Yeah.
you're not going to really realize how much money you're saving or not saving, because people will say, and I'll probably get to it later when I read through my notes as I kind of skim through them, that it's not illegal, but companies will say something that's $49.99. They'll slash it out and say it's $89.99. We're going to sell it to you for $39.99.
So I've got just an observation around that, right? Like, I know it's not, I actually saw your notes earlier and I was thinking to myself, like, the fact that this isn't illegal, what we call that is price gouging.
Yeah.
And the idea that you're allowed to do that, or you're allowed to just manipulate prices because you want people to think that they're getting a better price on something. there was a meme that I saw, and again, I know that I just said I saw a meme, and I'm about to use that as like news, but
as your source.
Yeah, it's my source, but like it made me think, and I think that's the only reason why I'm going to say this. But so I was looking at something where it was a picture of Elon Musk, and
was he jumping up really high? Like
it was basically like he was looking down like at an aquarium, and it was like a guy in a MAGA hat and like a liberal woman like who had like purple hair. Like they like really did her up to make her look like a crazy person. But it was like instead of us fighting class warfare, we're fighting culture warfare.
Yeah.
Like if we just said, Amazon, we know that you're fucking price gouging us. We either all like collectively stop, like tools down, we're not buying from you anymore until you fucking figure this shit out and like do it the right way.
Yeah.
Or like, but we're focused on like trans issues. We're focused on human rights issues versus like the actual problem is class warfare. Please.
So yeah, we talked about, price, creating a price that isn't really realistic and then slashing it down. So it's like, it reads as 40 to 50%.
That's right.
And then one of the things that I thought was super interesting is that there's a lot of retailers and manufacturers that will collaborate and they will sell you not great products.
I've heard of this.
That are faulty.
Yeah.
And so you'll get a 60% discount, but your TV will break in a year.
Yep.
And so
How's that legal?
So they'll say, oh, this is this big Black Friday, sale that you're going to get, and you're not going to be able to miss it. So you have to get it. This is a limited edition, whatever TV,
Right.
And people go nuts for it.
So like I was thinking about Cyber Monday, and I was like, oh, I've been eyeing a PlayStation 5 for a while.
Really?
Admittedly, I have been. I'm a gamer. I love to game. Let me be very clear. I like to game on Grand Theft Auto and FIFA. I'm a soccer player. In my mind, I'm a soccer star.
You are. You should be the captain for Arsenal.
I think you're right, Sergio. But I like Grand Theft Auto. I like FIFA, and I was thinking like, oh, why don't I just like save a little bit of money, and then I was looking at the prices, and I was like, no, this is what it was in July. Like I can just wait a little bit. It's going to drop a little further. Like
Absolutely.
I'll just hang out and wait for a little bit. That goes back to your earlier point, though. Like if you're not paying attention to this stuff, like as you go along, it doesn't matter.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things that they also said about it too was that all of us fall into the hype. But like I'm a consumer. I try to fake it like I'm not. But if a new the retro Jordan shoes come out, I'm like, oh, I gotta fucking get it right now.
Or a retro Arsenal sweater,
or a retro Arsenal sweater, or a jersey or kit or whatever.
Yep.
But those are the things that they use to try to create these limited edition stuff. And so, reading this article, I think it's a point to tell everybody that's out there that's listening to us is that don't fall for the hype. Don't get pressured or feel forced to buy things that you don't need to buy.
Yeah.
And then it also made me really think about what are the origins of Black Friday? How did we get to where we at right now with this big consumer holiday that has birthed Black Friday, Small Business Saturday, Giving Tuesday, Cyber Monday.
Yep.
So we have all these different holidays, quote unquote, to try to get us to spend our hard-earned pennies.
And that is something that I have thought about for a couple of years now. Like the idea that like we went from Black Friday and now like you get Black Friday sales in the middle of June and you've got like the extended weekend of shopping. And the idea is, like you said, go out and spend your money on the things that maybe you don't need. Maybe sometimes you find like a gem, right? Like, for instance, my wife, she's a ceramicist. She
Great word.
Thank you. I've been working on it. She Literally, I have been working on that for a week just to perfect it. But she did a pop-up sale, pop-up store yesterday at a local store, and made a good amount of money out of it. Like Small Business Saturday, the liquor store that I work at, like it's a small business, and like people were coming in and supporting the store
Without doubt.
And I don't mind that like level of like community involvement.
Absolutely.
Again, we've talked about community a lot in the last couple of weeks. The idea isn't, oh, well, I need to go to Walmart, or if you're going to spend money, spend it locally. Like revitalize, like put money back into the local economy, the people that you care about, the businesses that you care about, the area that you care about, not some fucking gigantic conglomerate that it's fucking Jeff Bezos walks into a fucking shop floor, and by the time he walks out, he's made over $1 million. Meanwhile, the guy who's working on the floor has made less than 100. Don't worry about that fucking fuck. He's fine. He's going to die wealthier than any person who's ever lived.
Without doubt.
Fuck off.
Yeah. And so I guess when it comes to what you're saying with that, you're absolutely right. We have to kind of pump our money. And I think one of the things
Into
I took
a podcast called At the Extremes.
At the Extremes.
You can pump all your money here.
Pump it. We'll have a Patreon. You just
Pump and dump.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll pump and dump.
But basically what I mentioned earlier that I'm dyslexic and I ADHD, so it takes me a long time to read something. But the basic points of the article, so you don't have to read them, is research your products that you want to buy. Make sure that it's the same tag or item code that you're trying to buy to make sure.
This is about the items that they sell at a high discount.
Yes,
but might not be the actual item.
Exactly.
Okay,
Do that.
Yep.
Don't fall victim to the hype. Don't say that like if you don't buy this right now, you're never going to get a deal like this.
Yep.
Make sure it's like, is this really what I want, or am I getting pressured to do it? And the most important thing is, do you really need this thing? Because, this is going to be a question I'm going to post to you in a little bit.
Are two different things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so you talked a little bit about a family member that'd go out to Black Friday. So what kind of, you growing up, what are the thoughts, Greg, of Black Friday for you?
Growing up as a kid, did my family participate? Like my extended family participated? I don't know if my nuclear family participated in Black Friday. If they did, I don't remember it being the thing. Like I remember growing up in a time where like Ames and Kmart and
Sears or
Walmart
Walmart
and stuff like that, like they had layaway programs, right? Like
hell yeah.
And for those of you who didn't have to live through this period of time, layaway programs were basically like you were buying on credit. Essentially, like you'd say, "Hey, look, I want you to hold this back here for me. My kids are going to get this He-Man doll for Christmas.
Hold it for a month, and I'll pay you.
I'm going to pay you over the month.
Yeah,
I'll pay you $4 a week, and whatever. Like when I was a kid, Nintendo was a big deal. Like I was a part of the first generation ish in America who had a Nintendo available to them, and I am sure my parents put that shit on layaway.
Really?
Oh, I'm sure of it because here's the thing. I think they got it a month early. My dad paid it off a month early. I'd have to get his confirmation on this, but there was a point where on Christmas morning, I know this isn't exactly a Black Friday story, but on Christmas morning, my dad would he brought us into the living room, and he's like, "Here's the Nintendo," and like we're playing the Nintendo, and he's like, "Oh yeah, you got to go here, you got to go there." He got it a month early because they paid it off early, so he could play the video game himself.
Hell yeah.
My dad...
That's an OG move.
He's a good guy, this guy. He's a great guy, but he ruined the surprise. He already figured out where Mario was going to go.
How quickly did it take you to figure out that he already knew and had played?
Here's the thing. He
popped your system's cherry before you got a chance to.
Here's... when you're growing up, your dad, at least the way that my brother and I grew up, my dad was like our Superman. Like he was the god in the house. My mom was the goddess, and anyone who made fun of mom got their ass beat and things like that. But my dad was he was like the guy. You know, he was the guy that you looked up to. He still is the guy I look up to. He's my heart and soul. But
is that like a boy, like, son thing to their dad?
I think for some,
I had a stepdad growing up, and we had a good relationship, but it's not. I don't hold my stepdad in that kind of awe. You do.
There are some guys that I know who are really who are constantly chasing their dad's approval, and then there are some guys who I know who are constantly running away from their dad's approval.
Okay.
And my dad has always been able to hit like the middle line on that of like, you're good enough no matter who you are, no matter what you are. You've always been good enough, but also get in the gym. Also make sure you're never giving up on yourself. And what does that mean for, like, find your line and push yourself as hard as you can to that line. And then once you're done with that, give me one more.
Okay.
Like, my dad has always been a hyper motivating force in my life.
He's a military guy, right?
He barely. He was in the Air Force. And any of our Air Force listeners out there, you know exactly.
You're not in the military.
You're basically the Air Force, and when I come in, I'm going to take care of the whole department. Air Force is gone; it's Space Force now. But no, like when my dad was, especially as a kid, he was Superman. Like, nothing could stop the man, including video games, and he destroyed us at every opportunity he could. He is the reason why I am crazy about competition. Like, my dad, when I was a kid, I remember this very specifically, and we were playing Tecmo Super Bowl on the regular Nintendo.
What team were you?
I think I think that game, the game of the story I'm about to tell you, I think I was the Detroit Lions. Barry Sanders was really big at that time.
You weren't Bo Jackson?
No.
For the Raiders?
Oh, dude, I was all about Barry Sanders. I had like Barry Sanders collectibles and everything. He was the guy.
I'm a Bo Jackson guy all the way.
Well, then,
Bo Jackson was the greatest person you could have in Tecmo Bowl.
Oh, he was awesome.
Hands down.
Here's the thing. He's a cheat code. He was a cheat code. Yeah. Yeah. But he won. So, like, I got up by like 2 touchdowns.
What?
2 touchdowns.
What?
And then I think I ended up losing by 3. Like, he was. I specifically remember him looking at me and going, "I'll never let you win."
Really?
Yeah, I will never let you win. You will have to beat me. And when we're playing downstairs, we're playing foosball, you and I, or we're doing anything. Like,
you're not going to let me win.
If there's a competition involved, you have to beat me.
Okay.
I will never let anyone win anything.
Well, that makes me feel really good then. So I won twice. So I earned those.
You did. And I am a psychopath. My dad and I have had this conversation. And so I'm not saying anything on the podcast that we haven't already talked about. He is the reason why I am crazy about winning and losing. I do not take competition of any. My wife and I were playing Uno the other night after dinner. She beat me, and I got up I walked away from the table, and I was angry.
Really?
I do not like to lose at anything. Anyway, Sergio, I'm sorry. I've taken over.
No, I love it. I mean, this is basically a sub conversation that we're having right now about analyzing Greg and his mental health. And
so anyone who wants to know about why Greg's been in therapy and he takes medication, and
he doesn't like to lose.
I hate losing. Losing is, I personalize it. It's a reflection of my own self. And I've done a lot of work in therapy to try to not be a psychopath.
So,
but back to Black Friday.
Tying it back to Greg.
Yeah.
So Black Friday, you never stood out in lines, did anything like that?
I never did.
Okay.
No,
me either. But what are your memories and thoughts about Black Friday when you went out there?
I remember, like I said, we had some family members who would always leave early and from Thanksgiving so they could go sit in line. And I always thought to myself, like, there's just nothing. I remember I stood in a line at Treehouse Brewery. What
a great place to be for a Black Friday.
Well, not for a Black Friday, but it's the only place I've ever stood in a line. I will not. I refuse to stand in line for anything. I will pay whatever amount of money.
Okay. No, I mean that's the same with me. I always thought about growing up. We never participated in Black Friday, but I think one of the things that was really crazy, and we can add it onto the show notes.
Sure.
The news articles of people getting killed.
Yes.
Trying to get these quote unquote deals.
Oh my God, that's the scariest thing.
And the thing that's super crazy is that there's a website, what you just mentioned, which is blackfridaydeaths.com, blackfridaydeathcount.com.
Yep.
Which has showed that 17 people have been killed, 125 injuries.
Yeah.
And if you go to it, and it's only from 2021, so there's probably a lot more that have occurred. But people, how crazy is it for you to think about that people have trampled other people or shot other people to get a deal?
It's like watching, this is what like always, this is why I think of this kind of thing through like ancient Roman eyes. Like the idea that you're willing to get trampled, hypothetically, you could die standing in line, fighting somebody.
Falling over and just like...
Right. Because you want a doll. And the idea of like the need versus want thing. And I think that a lot of us, especially when we're kids, have a lot more wants than we have needs, and we have people who engage in the want more than the need, and they reinforce the want more than they reinforce the need, and as a result, you end up with things like Black Friday, where
Absolutely.
like everyone's like, "Oh, well, I have to have this thing."
So no, I mean, I think everything that you're saying right now is absolutely on point. And so one of the things I want to challenge you and maybe call you out on. If you looked at your Amazon purchases right now, how much of the things that you have bought currently have been things that you still have or even actually use?
So the microphones that we're on right now, the pod deck that we're on, all the cabling, all that stuff was purchased through Amazon, and we're still using it. But like, admittedly, I don't buy a lot of things online. I don't buy a lot of things, period. And it's mostly because I'm too poor. So, Sergio, when we left off, you were telling me about the Black Friday, and I was talking way too much. So I want to turn it back to you.
You never talk too much. But so with all this discussion that we've been having, what do you know about the origins of Black Friday?
So, and you can tell me if I'm wrong here or not.
Well, I will, according to the History Channel.
I love that. I was always told that Black Friday was a slavery thing.
Really?
Yeah, like the idea that like that was the day of the year where blacks would be like, and I'm not like being like trying to be funny, like where black people would be sold cheaper than they would be normally throughout the year.
Well, that's interesting that you say that.
Because it's the absolute truth.
Oh, there's a lot of origins of truth of Black Friday. So
Fake news.
Fake news.
Fake news.
But yeah, Black Friday is one of those holidays, quote unquote, that we have discussed that has origins and has some dark origins. And
really?
Yes.
I'm into that. I love a dark origin.
So one of the big, the first kind of rumors happened, or the first mentions of Black Friday happened in 1969, specifically during the gold market.
1869.
1869, excuse me. Two douchebag Wall Street financiers.
It's always Wall Street guys.
Jay Gould and Jim Fisk, who worked to buy up all the gold and wanted to sell as high as possible. They got caught, and then the market collapsed, and then everybody got screwed, and it was a Black Friday.
Now, here's the question: like, would the so I actually got into a conversation, a debate about Bitcoin at the gym the other day. At the sauna, and this guy was like, "Oh,
that's a weird conversation to get into with somebody."
It was, and I'll tell you why. Because normally the sauna is a quiet place.
That's what you like.
Yeah,
That's your meditative place.
Yeah, I meditate there. I put my headphones in and I relax. And this guy was talking to me about he was talking to people, whoever was willing to listen to him, and I could hear him over my headphones. I was like, "Oh my god, I need to talk. I need to stop this. This is ridiculous." And I was just like, "Listen, man, like, do you not think that Bitcoin can also be as, I don't know, corruptible as any other thing?" Mm-hmm. He's like, "Oh no, but like it's a pure thing and like people own it." I was like, people owned like fiat currency before too, and then like markets like crashed. Yeah. And the reason why we have a controller is because without it, we would go through so many more market fluctuations, like the one in 1869.
Yeah,
fucking piece of shit.
Yeah.
Anyway,
no, without a doubt. And you're absolutely right about that. Is that it's always going to be a state of people trying to, or corporations or companies trying to make as much money as possible.
Yep.
But so one of the most common stories that you're going to hear about is that the most commonly reported story behind the Thanksgiving shopping related Black Friday tradition links it to retailers. After an entire year of operating at loss in the red, stores would supposedly earn profit when it went into the black.
Yeah, that was the other thing I always heard was like, oh yeah, we ran in the red all year long, but like we made our nut on this one day.
Yeah. And on the day after Thanksgiving, because holiday shoppers blew so much money on discounted merchandise through its true retailer companies used to record losses and red profits in black, and then their accounting. This version of Black Friday's origin is the official sanctioned but inaccurate story behind the tradition.
So as legend has it then, they would say like, okay, as a business, we've recorded record losses throughout the year. And then we're going to use this one day to bring ourselves back into the black. And then from there, we'll be fine. So, Sergey, you were telling me about the story in Philadelphia?
Yeah, and just kind of the origins of what Black Friday was through the History Channel's research. So basically, through the History Channel, it said that really the first terms of Black Friday occurred in Philadelphia, and it was in the 1950s after Thanksgiving as throngs of people came out from the Philadelphia suburbs to shop.
The Philadelphia suburbs.
Philadelphia horn, oh yeah.
It strikes again.
Oh yeah. And during that time, there'd be lots of people stealing and just overwhelming stores. And the police officers at that time weren't getting paid overtime, and they had to work those days.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Damn. Okay.
So the Philly officers had to work the day after Thanksgiving, and that's when all these people would come.
God damn.
And they would take advantage of it. And then 1961 happened, and merchants tried to change it from Black Friday to Big Friday, which didn't catch on.
Doesn't have the same ring.
No.
Does it?
And so a lot of the terms just kind of came from there, and then people just started getting deals during that time, and then just kind of caught on overall.
So you're telling me this is closer to a modern day phenomenon than a 1800s throwback. Okay, interesting. Okay,
absolutely.
Wow, didn't know that.
Which I thought was really, really interesting. That the fact that I mean, it's not really all that interesting because when I was little, I didn't remember in the late 90s in Seattle, Washington, Black Friday being a huge deal. But
sure.
Then when I watched the news presses of people getting trampled and big fist fights going on as being kind of a thing. And
it reminds me of The Walking Dead every time I see people standing outside the window with their faces pressed up against the glass let me in, I need to get the deals.
And so after we talk about all this, and we've talked about the death count. There's been 17 people that have died, 125 people that they have officially counted on that have gotten hurt. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts about Black Friday?
As a person who is operating under the more recent revelations of like the idea that I want to be closer to the people I'm buying things from recently. Like, this is a very recent revelation for me, and it's going to take me some time to get there. But I have never participated in a Black Friday sale. I've never participated in a Cyber Monday sale or a small business thing, like Small Business Saturdays or anything like that. As somebody who sees our system for what it is and has always kind of recognized that, like, it is essentially built to take advantage of poor people and to take advantage of people who are, I'll say this, Elon Musk doesn't care about Black Friday, right? Bill Gates doesn't care about Black Friday. These people don't care about these.
I mean, they do in a certain extent because they're getting money.
Yeah. So all right, let me rephrase that then. They care in so much that you're buying their shit, right? And for a consumer, like, we fall into the consumer class of people. And when we recognize that, okay, you know what, the money I'm spending here actually just makes this piece of shit richer. Let me throw that into somebody who lives in my community who can use that money to hopefully reinvest it into our community versus export it or put it into a trust that can't be touched by the government, whatever that looks like. But, there is a part of me that understands that, hey, look, there are some people who view Black Friday like they view the dollar store, right? Like, I'm going to get a good deal, even though you may not actually be getting that good of a deal, as you've highlighted. Like, it's not been my, I guess, to answer your question, I've kind of danced around it. I don't see Black Friday as something that
You like a deal, Greg.
I would rather just buy the shit when I need it, not when I'm pressured into buying it.
But that's the number one question. How much of it is need?
None of it is. Let me rephrase. I bought a thing for our sink that needed to get here within 2 hours. I needed it. They didn't have it at my nearest home center store, so I had to get it through Amazon. And they got it here within 2 hours, which is a really incredible feat of logistics. The problem is they have taken over an environment.
Everything?
Yeah, they've taken over the environment of, did I need it? Well, I felt like I needed it. We need to run the dishwasher. Did we need to run it last night? Could we not have waited a couple of days and just washed it by hand?
Things that make you go.
Things that make you go.
Yeah, dude.
What about you?
Well, I think that, it takes me back to this point of this idea of consumerism. And don't let me get all high and mighty about my own.
Oh, I just bought a new memory card for the podcast. It's going to be here in the next 5 hours.
Because Jeff Bezos is going to deliver it. But I think about kind of my own needs when it comes to what I want and what I'm getting told that I need. And it just really makes me reflect. Like, I want to, I have a daughter who's 7 years old. I want to buy her a Nintendo Switch, and we can kind of hang out. And
what if you bought one for the podcast instead, and she could go PlayStation 3?
I mean, I will. It will be her Nintendo Switch that I bring to the podcast.
I love that. Thank you. Thank you.
But for a lot of the things, it's just being able to. We're getting told that we need so many things when we don't.
That's right.
I think that's a big thing, is that I think that there's a lot of people that don't have the things that they want or that they need. And it's our job as consumers to, for Giving Tuesday, to really focus on those days rather than the Black Fridays or Cyber Mondays.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't mean to cut across you, but like the idea that we have to have a day highlighted to give tells you a lot about our society, I think.
Yeah, I just think it's super important to be able to go out and to, again, it's consuming is not a bad thing.
Yeah, no, everyone does it.
We all consume.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
especially
again,
here in the West.
And I will challenge every listener that we have right now to look at their Amazon list to see the things that they've bought in the last 2 years and see how much of the stuff that they've purchased was something that lasted more than 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I think like I am such a infrequent purchaser that I will go round and round and round and round 1,000 times over before I make a purchase because I'm like, do I need this or do I want it?
Oh no, not me. I'm super impulsive. I need this Arsenal hoodie. I'm gonna get it right now.
Immediately, right?
That's Black Friday.
Yeah. And that's okay.
It's a learning process, right? Like I'm learning. I don't need it. I don't need this.
No, you don't need it, but it looks good on you.
It looks great on me.
Also, it just reinforces your desire to continue to be an Arsenal fan.
Absolutely,
and that's okay.
Heck yeah. So those are kind of my final thoughts, and I like this idea of that we're reading current topics and articles that are going on, and what it means to us, and just having this conversation with the audience.
No, and I think as we get closer into the holiday season, I think we're probably going to reflect back on some of these themes a little bit more. But I think what the audience should look from us moving forward is we are working on a new series. We're not going to talk about it yet, but we are working on a new series that is going to come up in the new year, and we're going to be doing some deep dives on some stuff. And until then, folks, I think you're going to probably get more of this kind of material from us week to week.
For the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, until we get the writing taken care of. But look for us to have open conversations around week to week topics.
Email us.
Yeah, if you want to do that, you can
add us.
You can add us. I think I said it before. We're off of Twitter now.
Fuck Twitter.
Fuck Twitter. I refuse to call it the other name. But if you do want to hear more about what we talked about today or any corrections to what we've said, you can reach out to us on Blue Sky. We are on Blue Sky at The Extremes pod. Check the show notes because we'll have all the stuff listed there. What else, Sergio?
Educate yourself.